Hey y'all, it's me, Ashley, your Southern Lesbian, and today we have a very special episode and guest. So with trans rights being under attack in both the US and the UK, the trans community really needs our support, y'all, and I think it's very, very important that we have these conversations. Today's guest is Tia Samuels, and y'all, I'm a lesbian and I learned something today. What is the distinction that we need to know and understand about transgender people versus transvestites versus crossdressers? There is a difference. I guess I knew this, but I didn't really fully sink in until I had this conversation, and I think it's very important. So I hope you get just as much out of this conversation today as I did, and thank you so much for being here. And without further ado, Tia Samuels, ladies and gentlemen.
I never really used this before, so I have no idea what I'm doing.
Well
but it
done.
worked.
Well
it seemed to have worked.
I know nothing about you.
Oh, that's good. It's always a good start to know nothing about a person, because then you can get a good indication, right? I mean, I'm pretty much open to answering anything, because I feel that people do have questions, and especially with trans people, because we are rare. We're not everywhere.
Yeah.
It's hard to try and explain to people that there is a difference, and you know, transvestism or cross-dressers or whatever, they was always trying to use the trans get out clause, which is not a good thing.
We should talk about that too.
Right?
Yeah. Don't you think? I mean, that's a big deal, because that does distinguish transgender versus, you know,
transvestites and cross-dressers. That's the thing, and that is a good point, because a lot of people will need to know that there is a path sorted out for real transgendered people, and the path is you need to have months of psychiatric evaluation. You need to have 3 psychiatrists, independent psychiatrists, all to agree that it's the best thing for you, and that you actually are the person. And I won't say, I mean, they use the word role, but I don't think that's right. I think the deportment and the way you act conforms to being female naturally, and it's hard to try and understand what being a natural female is. Now, obviously, these people are, in that field, they know. I mean, when I went to the gender identity clinic, and I think on the last day I saw them, they basically, I went into one of the offices where all 3 independent psychiatrists were there. They literally said, "You are one of the most genuine female people we've ever met," which was really lovely, because I kind of thought, because I mean, I always knew I was transgendered from about 4 or 5, so I always knew that. But I was always told and forced, "No, you're a boy. You've got to play football. You've got to do this. There's no such thing as being transgendered. You can't be. There's no such thing." And this was way back in the late 70s, so it's kind of a thing. And where they basically tried to, I won't say whip it out of me, but they was basically trying to say, it's not a thing, it's never going to happen. You just have to accept life as it is. Right. And you're a boy. Here's a gun. Here's a car. Go and play with it. Rather than play with whatever you like. If you want to play with a makeup doll or whatever, you can't do that. And I was always told that. And it was a case of, right. So at a young age, I then decided, right, well, what do I do? And then they said, well, be the captain of your football team. So I was the captain of the football team. Be the best, toughest person in the school. So I was the best, toughest person in the school. So in other words, I used to beat the crap out of everybody that used to bully people. So I used to do all that. So it was a case of, you end up being the man, the big, the rough, the tough, the forceful, arrogant, selfish, misogynistic tosspot you can be. And I was that. I wouldn't say I was terrible, but I was still more, so that you were
masking.
Exactly. And I was using the not being myself as an anger tool to not defend myself. It was like also being scared. You have to be scared of being found out. I can't be too soft on this person, otherwise it would look a bit iffy or soft or whatever.
Very much in the closet in those days. Very much.
And that's the thing. And you've got to sort of do these things. So yes, I was the toughest person in school, the best fighter, the best football player, blah, blah, captain of the football team, blah, blah, blah. So I was all that. But, this transposed to when I got married, but the wife already knew about me, but I didn't know she knew.
Wow.
It was kind of weird. What happened was my sister knew, and she had told, because she was friends with my ex-wife, she was told. So it was a case of, okay, well, I didn't know this. And then I had days and days of agonizing of, should I tell her? Should I tell her? And then when I did, she went, oh, I know. I was like, well, why didn't you say anything? There's me.
Well, she must have loved you enough anyway, that it wasn't the primary concern.
No, I don't think she did, because obviously we've been divorced a long time. My children and my ex-wife no longer have anything to do with me because of who I am.
Oh no!
So it's been a big thing, and also she's Irish. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, when I say children, they're now adults. They're 30. So
yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, so I lost that side of my family and a large part of my life. But in the end, you can't live for other people. You've got to live for yourself. Right. Now, okay, some people may see that as being selfish, but I don't think it's being selfish. I just think it's being who I was all along.
Right.
And, trying to sort of say that this is me. I mean, I even have the same discussions with other family members, because other family members, I still talk to and whatever. I'm still okay with my father. I'm still okay with, my aunts and uncles and stuff. So that's like a really good thing. However, I've had cousins, at Christmas say to me, well, we never would have guessed. You was always the man, the one we looked up to. And bearing in mind, I was the oldest of all the cousins. Okay. So because I am now. My older brother who died, he was the oldest, but I'm now the oldest. But yeah. So being that, it was, they had no clue. They thought it was like a sudden shock. It's like, well, we never knew. And I said, yeah, I've always been. But, like a lot of things, you stop being yourself because you have to be this image of what everybody thinks you should be, which is the father, the breadwinner, the totally masculine, people to look up to. And that's all my cousins looked up to me. Not that they look up to me any less now, but they just said, well, we had no idea. And I said, well, you've got to hide yourself.
You did a good job of masking, didn't you?
Well, yes, because at the end, as I say, because I knew from a very young age, I had to be brainwashed into being this man that had to be a man. And that was the thing. It was like, you're forced to be what society tells you are. You can't pick and choose. Yeah, you can't pick and choose. And I learned that from a young age. So yes, captain of football team, I won't say forced to get married. I did love my ex-wife, but it's a case of you do these things because it's what's expected. And yes, I did love her. We had a boy and a girl. And then when, the wife, because she was Irish Catholic, she decided, I can't deal with you being transgender. So it was, over time, it just ended.
Religious reasons more than anything.
Well, yes, because she was very old-fashioned. In other words, it's like sex to her was just wham, bam, thank you, that's it, get off, and let's see you next Christmas. It was that kind of thing. So it wasn't a thing. But at the end of the day, it just wasn't meant to be. But when I told my eldest daughter, because she's the oldest of the two, I told her one day, she blocked me, and that was it for the next day, and that was it. It was gone.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That's so hurtful.
It's just, and that is also to do with her mum's influence over her, because she was always like, I think it's wrong. I think it's against God. I think it's this. And it was all, just I was always going to be losing that battle no matter what. But at the end of the day, I had to say, look, I've lived for you for 30 odd years. I've now got to live for myself now.
Of course.
I can't keep living who I'm not just to please everyone else.
Exactly.
You can't live for everyone else. Yeah.
I've always believed that on a soul level, gender is irrelevant. The way religion comes into play is just awful. It's like, do you really think that this is what Jesus or anybody, really, is this how he would have behaved? I
always say that
I get a lot of pushback for saying stuff like that on my podcast too, but I don't care. It's the way I feel. It's what I believe. If you're not in your heart and in your soul, this is how you've always felt since the time you were born. Who are we to say that that's
I
not
think
who
what
you
happens
are?
is the religious story, you know, God, Jesus, and that. I think that the premise of that is very good. However, I think man has corrupted it so much that you can't say, you know, oh, in the Bible it says you can't be gay. Well, that's bullshit, because nowhere in the Bible does it actually even say that. It says man shall not, you know, sleep with another man as does with a woman. So that means if all men who decided, oh, I'm going to sleep in a tent and like there's 5 men in there, you're not going to sleep in there. Right. It's like, it's just crap. It's just, yeah. And it wasn't God that said that. It's been translated
so many times through kings who had agendas to rule. And you know what I mean? It's like when you really go back, there's so much research that's been done on this that is fascinating, that none of that's
all to do with control.
They just all to do with. Anyway, we're going to digress with that. But I mean, I've always believed that our bodies are the houses that our soul lives in, and we get to decorate them however, you know, whatever way makes us feel like our true selves. I mean, yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, you know, I think a lot of people, especially intelligent people, can push past the outer shell of the person and the body. And if you're a good person inside and you're a good soul and whatever, it makes no difference. You know, if you live as a man or a woman or a bloody Daffy Duck, you just have to be your bloody self, right? You know, and those, I think it was South Park, or wasn't it? Was it South Park when Randy changed into a dolphin? You know, it's like, you know, everyone judges everyone else, and this is the thing.
And you're right. It's like most of the people that I hear that misunderstand trans people are the ones that have never met a trans person.
We're rare.
Do you actually even know any trans people before you go judging or voting against their rights?
This is the thing. They didn't. Yeah. They had no idea. They met transvestites. They met crossdressers. They didn't meet a genuine transgendered person, and that is the problem. Because if most people like you know, like yourself and like Jet and whatever, was to actually meet one, a real one, they would see that we're just like everyone else. We're no different. You know, we don't wake up in the morning, you know, and decide, oh, suddenly I'm going to put on jeans and a t-shirt and then suddenly go lay bricks and build a house. It's like, it's not really me. And that's the thing. It's like, you know, the real transgendered people are few. I only know, funny enough, one.
Really? I know more than you.
You probably, yeah. And this is a guy, female to male, called Joe, and he's such a great guy, and he's so lovely, so nice. I can tell you horror stories now, and this is going to scare you. Well, maybe not scare you. I've been to 3 transgendered meetups.
Okay.
All in the same group. Called the London Transgender Group. They normally meet in Soho.
Okay.
The first time I went, Joe was there, and I knew Joe before, and it was a good meetup. I really enjoyed it, and they were really nice people. I then went for a second time. Now, shortly after my brother had died, and I was basically moping around the place, you know, for probably a month or 2, and I kind of thought I need to get out. And the transgender group was meeting, and I thought, oh, let's just, you know, I'll pop into London and I'll go to this group. I was sitting there, and I told the owner of the group, look, you know, I've just come out. My brother's just died. I just need to be around people, and he was fine. However, there was this 6'4" tall person in a dress with makeup on, practically had a beard, size 28,000 feet shoes. So in other words, they looked to me, I'm going to sound really horrible, ridiculous. Yeah. Because I thought, look, you're obviously a guy. Anyway, we started chatting, and as we was chatting there, I told them that, you know, the reasons why I came out, you know, why I went out that evening, and he was like, see, they were dressed as a she. Now I'm saying he because it's automatic. This is how this person acted. Yeah. Now they decided for whatever reason that I needed a hug or a cuddle. However, it wasn't a compassionate one. It was very manly. In other words, really, and I was trying to get away, but they were really, you know, hugging, and I was like, don't like this. And then they started rubbing my back, and then their hand went lower down to my almost my, and I was like, come on, get off. You know, what the hell are you doing? And this is the thing. And I said, you know, and then I then got onto the question of, are you really transgender? Oh, yeah, I'm going to be paying for my surgery. I'm going off to Dubai, or blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to be paying this amount. And it was so obviously a guy. Yeah. So obviously. In other words, his demeanor, his attitude, everything was male.
Right.
He was wearing a dress, but he was male. And I couldn't see this person as anything other than a male. Yeah, he thought in his own mind that he was female and was going to go and pay to have this surgery done. Now, I thought to myself, this is going to be the biggest mistake this person's ever going to make.
If he was telling the truth. I mean, and this is exactly the worry that people have about the restrooms, right? So I'm actually glad you brought it up, because the difference, like you're saying, in someone like that versus you or any other trans person I've met, or even if it's someone like Jonathan Van Ness, you know, who's on Queer Eye, who has the beard, who has the long hair, who wears the dresses, so lovely and feminine. And I would trust that part, you know, Jonathan with a small child, anybody. But the difference in what these people are, you are, and what you're describing is, I mean, that person does feel unsafe, period. And that is a different ballgame. And if someone like that walks into a restroom, call security, get them out of there. Like, that's unsafe is unsafe. Someone is crossing the line. But if you're minding your own business, if you're just living your life, like, why do people care?
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing. We're transgender people have been tarred with that brush.
Yeah.
You know, and as I say, fortunately for me, I'm very, you know, I think I've only ever been read once, which is really good. But those that, I mean, I'm going to tell you another horror story now. I was in the gender identity clinic, and we was all in a waiting room. And most people, you know, trans, and you can see, I don't know how you know, but you can just see, yes, male to female, female to male, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, in come this person. Now, to say Coco the Clown had nothing on them was right, because they had bright blue eyeshadow on, red rouge on their cheeks, ruby red lipstick, wore a tutu. It was winter. Wore a tutu and high heel. I just thought, are you kidding? You know, and then this is the thing. People are going to have a problem with someone whom, to be honest, was a guy just looking, as I said, like a clown, was like so obvious. And I was like, oh no. And this is the thing. I get tarred with that brush, and it hurts when I get tarred.
And this is probably the reason that they're, like you were mentioning, there's like 3 levels of psychiatrists, psychologists that you have to meet with, right? If you're going to go through gender reassessment, and if you're going to be
that needs to be done. Yes.
So, okay. So in the UK, we'll get to the ruling in a second, but in the UK, how does it work then? If you go to these professionals, can you change your gender marker then on your ID, or how does that work here?
Yes. I mean, my passport says female. Great. Yeah, it's a case of you have to be medically certified that you are definitely transgendered, and apparently, from what I also hear from one of the psychologists, was only about sort of 20% that actually go to the gender identity clinic actually pass that level. The other 80% have other psychological issues which have nothing to do with being transgendered, and so they wheedle out those that are not suitable, and then they confirm those that are. So my confirmation was, you know, I got a letter stating, you know, goes to the passport office or goes to wherever, that this person is female, blah blah blah, and that's what you get. So if you've got that kind of, you know, confirmation, then that should be the law. That should be it. However, the law has changed now, so that apparently is no longer it.
Right. So we're living in the UK right now. So let's talk about that. So there was the ruling about who the government considers as a woman anymore. And that affects people on a whole spectrum, but especially the trans community. And to me, it feels like they're targeting the trans community. How do you feel about that? How does that affect you on a day-to-day basis?
For me, on a day-to-day basis, is I do worry that if I was to be confronted in a bathroom or somewhere else, I can pull out ID that says female.
But what if they decide that that's going to change now?
Well, the fortunately thing is that we're still protected under the transgender discrimination law.
Okay.
So if we was to even be confronted, then we can turn around and say we're being persecuted and we're being, unfairly treated. So the two rules butt heads.
Okay.
And so
I wasn't aware of this. I'm glad you're telling me. Yeah.
Yeah. The trans what is it? It's not only trans, it's what's the name of the blinking law? I forgot. It's the point being of it is that no one should be discriminated against. So there's the anti-discrimination law. I think that's what it's actually called. And with that anti-discrimination law means we are free to go wherever we wish, such as the ladies' bathroom. However, with that ruling of a woman is a woman, it doesn't necessarily prevent a woman from going into the man's bathroom, because again, it would still be the anti-discrimination law. You can't discriminate.
Right.
Okay, yes, you've got certain spaces. However, if you turn around and say I'm being persecuted because of my gender, then you, in theory, by law, should be able to use any bathroom you wish, male or female. So that's what the ruling actually says. Because when they actually came out with the ruling, most people just listened to the headline bit. Right. In other words, a woman is a woman, genetically female, blah, 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 blah. And they are deserving of safe spaces, which is great. However, if you actually watch the whole ruling, it actually then says, however, transgender people are protected through the anti-discrimination law. So...
Well, and the other thing is like, if we're only going on gender, I'm a woman, but I'm also a lesbian. So what's the difference in me walking into a woman's restroom if I am attracted to women, right? I mean, that argument could be made as well, that they shouldn't let me in either.
That's right,
but I am very femme presenting. Nobody's ever going to think that when I walk in most of the time, but and then there's the assumption too with people who don't understand the gay, the trans community, that oh, you must be attracted to every woman. You must be looking at whoever's in there. No, Broomhilda, I'm not.
Yeah. This is the thing. I'm attracted to 90% women, but I'm more attracted to the person themselves. Yeah. So if there was the right guy, maybe I would consider whatever. But I won't say preference. My long-standing desire is to definitely be with another woman, because another woman.
So can we talk about that for a second? Because this goes back to the meetups and your question you had for the woman who ran the lesbian meetup, because I have heard this come up twice in two different groups here in London of lesbian meetups, that certain people would take issue if there was a trans woman that came in, because are they really a lesbian? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, I want to hear your take on it first. What do you think about that?
Well, this is a long question.
How does that work for you?
I think that someone who is lesbian, or someone who is trans, or someone who is, I won't say a guy, to be honest. I think the desire to be with a person, regardless of gender, should take priority, because yes, I go to lesbian meetups. Yes, I do things with lots of other women and whatever. Does that mean that because they would see me as a guy or an ex-guy, does that mean that I should then be forbidden to going to a lesbian place? Right. I don't think that should be a case, because if I'm a normal person, what's the problem? I don't see that problem. However, I do tell, if I'm talking to someone or whatever and we make friends or whatever, I do tend to sort of say, look, by the way, I am transgendered. It's not like, to be honest, most people that I've told, it's not like they go, get out of here, get out of here. They don't scream and run to the hills. They just go, oh, and some of them don't even know, as I say, I've told people, they just go, oh. As long as I'm not following them into the bathroom and trying to sort of rape them or something. But then again, I wouldn't do that anyway. But that's me. However, as I say, I think some of these so-called, I don't call them transgender, I call them transvestites, because they are. They just wear a dress just for the simple case of, I want to go to a lesbian group.
Yeah, and in that case, I think it clearly feels uncomfortable, and we can ask them to, hey, this group isn't for you. Exactly. Me personally, I've heard this come up, like I said, twice in different groups now, and what I personally feel like is that the people who are uncomfortable are the ones that just are unafraid. They don't know how to communicate properly, or just say, if they're approached by a trans person and they don't want to date a trans person, just say, oh, it's really nice to meet you, but this is my style, or what I feel here is friendship. I don't feel that kind of connection with you. Like, why can't people just say that and move on to I don't understand that either.
I think it plays into their own insecurities, because they're insecure. Exactly. And because they're insecure of, well, wait a minute, I'm here, I can only, date a woman. And if you're not that, then I'm scared of you. And that is their own insecurities playing back on them. It's not to do with, any kind of gender. I mean, to be honest, I haven't dated anyone since I started transitioning. And that is because I think I always see it that if I'm in a lesbian group, they're only after another woman. They're not particularly after.
Well, I don't know. And here's why I say that, because it is a real thing for two women in a lesbian relationship to go, oh, babe, oh, I wish that was yours, I'm being blunt now, but it's like, and it's like, I don't think it's I don't think it's inappropriate. Because you could find your girl,
I possibly could. However, it's not like I wear the T-shirt and go around saying, land's available for hire. It's
you might not be the top in the relationship, though. I don't know, Tia.
That's the thing. That's the thing as well, right? Again, I don't know. Who knows, right? But this is the thing. Unless you go in there with literally a whole CV and say, hand it out to everybody, you're never going to know who's
sexuality. Yeah, it's such a spectrum. Even for me and the women that I've dated and the different ways that we connect, it's been such a spectrum. So for you, it's probably, the same thing too. I can imagine.
I think the way I always looked at it is, yes, I go to lesbian meetups. Yes, I make friends and stuff, and I can make friends really easy. I can walk into a room and I can start chatting to almost anybody, except for the one girl I kind of think, oh my God, I would do anything for her. And then that's the thing, is like, I just can't approach them anyway, because they're just too gorgeous. But anyway, I wouldn't necessarily go to a meetup thinking I'm going to pull.
You're there to meet people, and if it happens over time.
Yes, and over the years, it's not happened.
Yeah, I couldn't just go in and go, well, actually, I did do that with my girlfriend. I went in and I was like, nobody else is talking to you. Anyway, I digress.
I always go just to meet people. I don't go there to necessarily try to date anyone, because I always kind of think, in the back of my head, I always kind of think I'm not the person they're looking for.
Oh, now that's where I feel like you need to change that thinking. You just need to be open. Listen to what I just told you. I'm telling you, you're going to see someone that's like, oh, this is my flavor,
Yes, it could be. But the trouble is, I also look at it that if you've got a room full of 10 people, only 2 or 3 people will be in that mindset. Now, trying to find them,
true, because it is going to be someone, but we all have such specific, it's an energetic thing, right? So out there,
it's not like I've given up. I do go to these events, and I do, go there basically to just enjoy myself. And I do make a lot of friends. Over 20 years of going to these events, only one person has ever come up to me and asked me for my number.
Well, why can't you ask people for theirs?
I do.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I can always go up to people and grab their number and whatever. I can, as I say, I can chat to anybody, and I can, whatever. And I get their number, and then we chat for a little while, and then, it's the, oh, by the way, I'm transgendered. Oh, that's great. Yeah. And then the next day, do I get ghosted? Probably.
Well,
And that's the thing.
I'm sorry. That's people who don't know how to have a proper conversation and maintain a friendship, if nothing else. It's like, why can't you be friends then if it doesn't work out as...
I have a small group of friends, and I say a small group, and they are good friends. In other words, we we go on holidays and stuff, and we I mean, I've just come back with one of my friends from Bangkok. We had a great time, and everyone sort of says to me, I went to an internationals meetup, and she literally sort of pulled me over and said, Tia, whenever you don't come to a meetup, people are bored. People don't enjoy themselves.
Oh,
I'm like, what do you mean? She said, well, you bring a ray of sunshine with you that lights up, and everyone is just happy to see you, even though you don't know it.
yeah.
You do. You just, you're bubbly, you're energetic, you're there, and people can come and talk to you, and you talk to them. And when you're not here, she says that the mood is more like, well, we're having a drink. And that's about it. They don't get going. And I like that she came up and actually said that to me, because I kind of thought, well, when you do something naturally and you don't know that you're doing it.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, I was doing it naturally, but she said, we only notice this whenever you're not here. So whenever we have a meetup in Holborn or wherever, and you're not there, it's okay. It's don't say it's like wrong, but there's just something missing that I seem to bring.
I love that you have that space, and I love that she said that to you, because it must, I would imagine, make you feel safer to really like express your true self, right?
I mean, I'm happy, and also I got expelled from a lesbian group for them saying, you're a guy, get out. They literally sort of, I got a message one day in an email saying, you're no longer part of this group.
Wow.
And then I messaged them like 3 or 4 times. Why? What happened? And then I got this nasty email saying, you're a man. We don't want men in our group. You're a predator. You're this, that, and the other.
Oh, wow.
I was like, sad. What?
Right.
To cut a long story short, they lost a lot of members because a lot of members were like, how can you say, that? Especially about me, because a lot of, as I said, I knew quite a few people, but that was just that. But
I feel like this whole trans debate that's flared up again right now. I mean, look, it's always been there, and it bubbles up every so many years, right? And we have to have these conversations again. But don't you feel like, especially in our times right now, it's a massive distraction, and it's sort of like to rile up that conservative base, to give them something to focus on, to where they think, oh, look, these leaders care about what it's so ridiculous. Meanwhile, they're doing other really bad things over here that's taking our eye off the ball. It's right. Like, it's not about
just a distraction.
Pronouns.
It's a distraction. They want it's always the lowest person on the lowest ladder that they want to hit. And if it's not LGBT, it's something else. And at the moment, because of the court ruling, everyone around the whole world is now anti-LGBT, but more the T than the LG.
For sure.
So, it's like, well, we'll pick the last letter to pick on. We just happen to be the last letter.
Yeah. And this is where, I mean, and I'll be honest, like there have been moments that people have asked me about, questions about trans and trans rights. And I'll go, I don't know. I'm not trans. I can't answer that. You have to ask a trans person. But this is one of those moments where, I'm so happy that we all embrace these letters, because as a marginalized community, we do have strength in numbers. And it's so important.
We do. We've got to be. We've got to be now, because they're always going to be picking on us. Always. Yeah. And because of that, we need to show solidarity and say, look, now the trouble is there's not an LGBT. In other words, LGBT transvestite.
But now, do you think transvestite should be in that group?
Yes, because there's a distinction between trans and transvestites, and people don't know the distinction. And that's the problem. Because they class the T as being transvestites or crossdressers. And that is wrong, because there's a total difference between transvestites, transgendered, and crossdressers. And the transvestites just want to wear dresses. The crossdressers want to do both. They want to wear what they want to want one day and wear what they want to want another day. So it's one of those things where you have to sort of make the distinction between transgendered people, real transgendered people, and transvestites. Because without that, People won't know the difference.
Exactly. So let's say that, yeah, and I'm so glad you said all of that because it wasn't clear in my mind either. Like that makes total sense to me. So if transgender persons want to use a restroom, is it a matter of like if God forbid, somebody approaches you and calls you out, do you just show them your ID?
I can do. Every ID that I have says female.
Yeah.
My rent book, my passport, my credit cards, everything is female.
Yeah.
However, transgendered people or transvestites don't have that protection.
Right.
So therefore, they can be called out.
So I also feel like a big part of the problem, not just, I mean, it's all these people that are clinging to this old, as desperately as they can, this old belief in the binary male female, right?
Yeah.
It's never been that, but they're so used to having control and power. And
yes,
women, let's talk about cis women for a minute. Like, I feel like, that's a problem too, as we've talked about in the last few years. But how can women, cis women, support trans women more?
To know the difference between the two, transvestites, transgendered, and crossdressers. Like you said, you didn't know that there's a difference between the three.
And I'm a lesbian.
Yeah, of course.
I'm part of the letters.
But that's the same as most cis women. They do not understand that there's a big difference between someone who's female, like myself. I mean, I would consider myself definitely female.
And has gone through the 3 psychiatrists, gotten the diagnosis, gotten the gender marker.
Yes.
Versus.
Someone who just wakes up one day and says, I'm going to put on a dress and I'm going to use that as an excuse.
Right.
I'm going to say I'm transgendered. I'm going to, go to the ladies' restroom because I've got a dress on. It's like, no, you don't do that. Right. But this is what these transvestites and crossdressers do. So there's a big difference. And I think a lot of people are confused with what the actual differences are.
Yeah.
Yes, if a man wants to wear a dress, fine. If one day wants to wear jeans and t-shirt the next, fine. I have nothing against that. However, their mindset is still male.
Yeah.
Even if they dress as female, their mindset is male.
Right.
The misogynistic way they just look at things is not the same as what females look at it. Females are more logical.
Men. There are some lovely men, but yes, on the bottom. Yeah.
And that's the thing. And people need to understand that, look, at the end of the day, those that have gone to the gender identity clinic, those that are doing or are transitioning medically by the NHS or another psychologist's point of view, these people are trained in this area to detect what a male is and what a female is. So they're not sort of someone who's just come off a bus and says, what's your opinion? Oh, do you prefer male or female? Do you know what I mean? They have years of training on this. Yeah. So they know whom is male, whom is female. As I say, 80% of those that go to the gender identity clinic fail because they are not compatible with being female. I don't know how to put it. Which is
it's not their true identity. I think it's look, there can be mental illnesses that cause people to go in and have these things, or there could be this idealized version of what they think.
Yes.
Women, maybe there's, benefits to being a woman. Like I have had my gay male friends have told me before, oh, you must get out of all your speeding tickets because you're cute and blah, 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 that sort of thing. You must get by with a lot. And I'm like, oh, it doesn't actually work that way. But there probably are some women that do. But who knows? Who knows?
The only thing I have noticed is that men treat me differently. In other words, when I'm at a crossroads, they stop. When time to get on a train, they let me go first. It's not, wait a minute, you're going to get suddenly a card that says, oh, I'm due to all these privileges. Women don't get privileges. Men do afford us the little privilege of opening the door, maybe, letting us go first, maybe. It doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
It's not like it's a God-given right. Just because you're female, you're suddenly the first on the train. Yeah. You're not going to be the first on the train. You could be the last on the train.
Yeah.
But men's psyche is mainly, I want to impress a woman, therefore I will let you get on first. Or, if you're behind, queuing up for, I don't know, a pint of milk or something, they will go, oh, do you want to go first?
That's lovely. And on the flip side, I told you I had a previous podcast called Life in the New Normal where we also interviewed a female to male transgender person, and he was saying that, to the flip side of that, like how cool it is to being a white man now. Like you get all these privileges and like men treat you with more respect in conversations, and but I'm just saying that's his experience and that's what he wanted. So it's fascinating to hear.
Being an ex-guy, I would say it's not a case of you get more respect. It's a case of most men are afraid of other men.
Yeah.
And the reason why they're afraid of other men is because of the violence that men create all the time. So in other words, it's like them having to tread on eggs all the time, because it's a case of, I've got to be nice to you because you're another guy, you're equal. You may be able to hurt me. You may be able to do whatever. So therefore, I'm going to treat you with respect. That is what happens. Whereas men treat women with a different kind of respect. In other words, they don't feel threatened by a female. So therefore they will sort of, as I say, they will open the door for you. They will do these things because they can relax. They can be, just not having to see you as a threat constantly. And this is what happens with most men. Most men, I mean, obviously, going into the bathroom, whatever, all they talk about is women. Oh yeah, I saw this woman the other day, and oh yeah, she was this, that, and the other. She had the biggest pair of knockers I've ever seen, and oh yeah, and all that kind of male stuff. And that to me was like animals. You're looking at someone as if they are a possession, as if they are not worthy of being treated or spoke about. Even, okay, the woman's not there, but it's not the point. The point is the way you interact with other men is that you downgrade them to make you look big, to make you look like you're the guy that is the one that can pull this magical woman, when it's not the case. It's the woman who chooses. It's not the man. Men are dime a dozen. There's thousands of men every bloody way, and it's not like it's not like any woman would have to sort of, try and make themselves look stupendously gorgeous to try and pick up a man. All a woman has to do is just sort of show a bit of cleavage, and the man will drop down on his knees and go, thank you for the attention. It's that kind of thing. And I think women know this, that all they've got to do is just flash a little bit of thigh or something, and the man will be as dumb as shit, because they are, They are. They think they're going to get something. It's like, well, wait a minute. What are you going to get? You're going to get me to do what? You think I'm going to go down and give you a blowjob just because you opened the door for me? It's like, get real, And it's not. Men don't have that much privilege. Yes, white men have slightly more privilege than black. However, I think, again, it's all to do with control. They just want to control everything, and all men want to control, no matter what. They think they're in control when the woman really controls more than the man. It's just they don't know it.
Honey, I wanted to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for sharing your story and for helping us unlearn old stories that need to be released, honestly. And I just hope that people can stop and think, like, even if they can't understand this and you and the trans community, can they at least allow you to live and exist freely? As I say, I'm fortunate in that area. I've not really had too much problems. But yes, I think everyone should be able to just live. They shouldn't be, targeted or ostracized just because they want to live their own life. And I think it's the same with lesbians. Lesbians are, targeted and ostracized just as much as, well, all the other LGBT, really. But it's just a case of, who cares? Yeah,
we're here. We want to live out. We get one chance on this mud ball, and if we don't live our own, life, what are we going to do while we're here? We just got to be happy, and that everyone should be able to be that.
Agreed. Yeah. Thank you, Tia. Thank you so much for being here. So nice to meet you, and I appreciate it.
Nice to meet you too. You take care then.